This is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast. This is episode 137. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, also known as Partner with Millie, founder and director of the Todd Capital Investment Club. We have over 400 members on the stock side. We also have a bunch of members on the real estate side and in the vending machine side and in the barbershop, doing a lot of really cool stuff. Make sure you leave us a rating or review, preferably a 5-star review. Those help us rise up in the ranks. As we move in the ranks, more people get exposed to what we're doing. The purpose of this podcast, as I've said before, is to share the stories of successful African-American business owners and investors so that people can hear the stories of successful examples. They do exist. We want people to learn that business and investing are a team sport and the keys to financial success and generational wealth. With us today, we have Mr. George Gipson. He's from Vero Beach. He's a real estate investor who has had some success, and I think so much success he's been able to work his way out of a job and now be a full-time real estate investor. So I was actually on his podcast, and in talking to him, I learned that he had a story that I think we should share with the listeners, and it was just took us some time, and we finally got him on the show. So welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Charles. Thanks for having me.
So the first question we always start with is we want to know what life was like growing up. We feel like growing up sometimes can, I guess, motivate you to do what you're doing today. So can you talk to us about what early life was like?
Right. Yeah. So I'm originally from North Carolina, the Raleigh-Durham area, but I'm from Oxford, which is the country. So I was born and raised there, but in the 5th grade, that's when I ended up moving to Florida with my mom to reconnect with my dad. And that's where like the shift changed, because where I'm from in North Carolina, all my family worked for like 9-to-5 factories. When you graduate high school, you go, you choose a factory, you go work there for 30 years, and you retire. That was just the normal thing for my family on my mom's side. I come down to Florida, my dad's side, my dad doesn't work a normal job. My grandparents don't work a normal job. My uncles don't work a normal job. They have real estate. They got rental properties, got a club. In Florida, we got a lot of groves, like orange groves and stuff like that. So I got orange groves, and it was just different. Life was different, you know, instead of definitely. And once I got to middle school, most kids, you're like, okay, my parents won't be home this time of day. My dad never worked a normal job. So it's like in and out. And it was just every basketball game he came. But
I lost you on the audio, and I know that if it might have been, it's probably my Wi-Fi.
Right.
All right, I got you back.
You got it.
Yeah, what were you going to say?
No, I use the internet. It say dial by internet.
That should be okay. Just
Okay.
Sometimes it comes in and goes out, and you look like you're about to hit your stride. And I was like, I don't want to lose that information because my audio fell out. So, yeah, let's go.
I'll just keep going.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So in Florida, my family, like I said, the main revenue was real estate, and we had a bar, one of the largest bars here in the African American community right here in the city. So by me seeing that coming from, working factory, then my grandparents and my dad, they have so much time to be with the family because everything's more set up as a business. And that's kind of where I got, I didn't pay attention to it, but that's probably where my mindset came from now.
I love it. I think that's so key because sometimes you just have to get around it. A lot of people think that you have to focus on it intently, but sometimes just being in that environment, it shifts your mindset and it shifts your think. And the same thing is also true when you're in an environment where it's 9 to 5. Like they're doing that just because that's their environment. That's all they think they can do. So that's cool. But from there, I think you told me that you actually were working a 9 to 5 job after high school.
Right. So basically, I go through high school like a normal kid. I'm a millennial. I'm 30 years old. So, we graduate high school. What's next? College. So I did the college thing, went to college. I graduated not 4 years, but 5 years. But I did graduate, get my bachelor's degree in accounting, right? So I graduate, and my dad, he's seen how hard business was. So if you go through something in life and it was hard for you, you don't want, is it connect?
Yeah.
You don't want your children probably to go through the same thing. So basically, I got my degree in accounting. I started looking for a job. I'm going to interviews. It's not me now. I'm doing this for my family. I got my degree. I'm supposed to get a job with a suit. So I'm going to interviews. I'm going to interviews over and over, and I end up getting a job doing like a Advance America. It wasn't even a big job, one of the cash advance places, right? I do that first, but everybody see me in a suit, so they like, congratulations, you got a good job, right? And inside, I'm making like $12 an hour, but I got on a suit, so people looking at you like you're important. So, all right, I get out of there. The day I started that job at Advance America, I told them I'm only working here until the post office hired me. And the manager, she looked at me like, you really gonna tell me that on the first day? And it's all about the vision. I know everybody know that vision. I already knew in vision this was a temporary placement, and I worked there 3 months. 3 months after I worked there, I had already applied for the post office, but many people know getting into the post office is hard. So 3 months down the line, I get a call from the post office, and I go in for the interview and whatnot. I get the job. Life is great, right? So many people, you get the job for the post office. A lot of older people say, you got a good job with benefits, you're set for life. You're set for life. In which I knew in my heart it wasn't for me,
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, I worked the post office I worked there for the first year, right? And that's for a lot of people that's working a normal job. You can do the same thing. The first year I worked there, I listened to Pandora, radio, rap music, Kevin Gates, Lil Wayne, all the new hottest rappers, right? Over and over and over. For the whole first year, didn't learn nothing, right? So the second year, I discovered the podcast, and I discovered Bigger Pockets podcast, which is a real estate podcast. So I discovered that podcast, and they had maybe 40 episodes. I listened to one, and I was addicted to what they was talking about. So they only come out every Thursday. So I went back and started from episode number 1, and I literally started listening to podcasts. No more music ever. Podcast for the next 4 years. And I give people hints too. The podcast, if you want to get into real estate or just motivation, I would listen to Bigger Pockets. That's definitely number 1 if you want to learn about real estate. Number 2, what would I do? Gary Vaynerchuk. Not every episode. He put out a lot of content, so you have to find the ones where they have great entrepreneur guests, but he'll give it to you raw, So I would listen to podcasts, right? So the second year when I discovered this podcast, that's when, for that whole year, now this is not no overnight thing where people thinking you can just it just click. I was working at the post office, listening to podcasts, and I would tell the coworkers, I'm gonna get into real estate so that I can get out the post office. They were like, yeah, everybody else said they're gonna quit or do this and do that. And I immediately I started taking action by working at the post office. You got me?
Yep.
So I listened to the podcast, and I worked there for 5 years. In them 5 years, the 5th year was, I just quit April 13th of last year, right? I went to work on Monday, and the route I had was horrible, right? I had a bad day overall. And I was like, I already been contemplating it, but I was like, that's it. That's it. And I didn't have, a lot of people think that you need a lot of money or another job set up. In one case, you do need to have a plan. I had a plan, but I didn't hit the lottery,
So we'll get to that. But one of the things a few things I want to pull out in that story that I think are really important is keeping that vision. I know vision is something we're going to talk about later because we'll talk about that once we get there. But it's something that I do as well, and it's something that I think our guests should listen to and kind of take heed to is you got to know what you want out of life. You got to have been seeing it. You have to have been exposed to it. And sometimes you have to expose it to yourself on purpose. So you might not luck up and get kind of just dropped into an environment that's perfectly going to allow you to grow into an entrepreneur. So maybe you have to go chase that environment. Maybe you have to go get that through an internship. You have to get that through working after hours. Before I went to law school, I had a full-time job. And then after my full-time job, I would go work in a law office. And it worked out because I was getting exposure. I was meeting lawyers. And I was also able to wait out the traffic because the traffic was no joke.
Right.
So that's dope. The other that I think that I hear from your story, and I think people overlook this a lot, is the degree in accounting. And you might not see how powerful it is, but having a degree in, like, accounting is the language of business.
Right.
If you can understand the numbers, you can understand how a business works. You can understand how much you should be paying for a business or an asset. Grant Cardone has a degree in accounting. My mom has a degree in accounting. I have a degree in finance. Brian, the CPA, has, of course, a degree in accounting. There's a lot of power in getting a strong degree that parlays into your career. So let's talk about – yeah, go ahead, man.
No, before you move on, I want to say that too, because a lot of people used to say, you got your degree in accounting. What you doing? What you using it for? And I used to say before I even started doing real estate, I say I'm using it for my personal life. So nowadays, people, whenever you get a degree, instead of thinking I'm finna take my degree and show it in somebody's face and say, hire me, look, I got this piece of paper. Reverse your mind. You have to get your degree, but actually learn the field, learn it. And when you come out, put it to your real life experiences. So I was an accounting degree, but I didn't use it for Walmart. I use it from my budgeting, for my bills, and that's what I take away from what you just said.
100%. I think on Twitter, I put out this idea that the only place for your degree isn't becoming an employee. Like, you can take your degree and you can become a business person. Todd Capital is my finance degree,
right,
in a business form. And real estate portfolio is because, I mean, if you think about it, like, a lot of this stuff, income, expenses, projections, it's all accounting and finance. A lot of people who can do it if they understand housing, but I think people get into real estate for different things. You understand the numbers of it. I understand the numbers of it. There's other people who might understand the building of it. And so they can get into real estate because they understand, oh, I need to put this kind of floor in there. Or I need to put this kind of whatever in there. And so they understand that aspect. So real estate is so broad that it allows a lot of people from different experiences and perspectives to participate and make money in it.
But that's one of the things too, with social media. Like, all right, we on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff, right? But you have to find out exactly what your gift is. So, like, all right, where I'm from in Florida, in Vero Beach, it's a small town, right? A lot of African Americans got a lawn service, starting to sell hair. A lot of black women, we even had a beauty supply store, hair, but we're all piling up in the same field, We got a lawn service, we selling hair, whatever, another popular African American business, everybody doing the same thing. And you have to go look at your life. Like, I have friends like, man, George, I'm gonna get my real estate license. It might not be for you, because I go through deals. I promise you, if I didn't really love real estate, I'll be like, the heck with it. This deal is over with. I'm just move on. But the fact that I don't really consider it a job is, I treat it different,
Right. I think that's very key, because it's something that you see on social media a lot. Everybody wants a t-shirt company. Everybody wants to do the same stuff. And I feel like you have to kind of chase your passion. And I'm not big on chasing your passion. It's
not your passion, it's your gift. It's what you do.
Right.
Like it took me, I'm 30 years old, right? I probably just discovered this, which I prayed for, you know what I mean? Like a year or two ago. Like, my gift in real estate is finding and recognizing deals.
Yeah.
That's only one part. So I still got other people that help me with the painting, the rehab. I can't do all of it, but it's somebody out there with that gift, which I do need on my team, so we can grow, Right.
It's very difficult to have a community if everybody's trying to do the same thing. You can't have a shopping center and you just have a whole bunch of hair weave spots.
Right. And then that's the thing. In real estate, when I do a deal, like right now, I just bought a house, right? I closed Friday. I paid inspector, which is, we don't have too many African-American inspector people. We paid the appraiser. I don't choose the appraiser, but I doubt it was an African-American. The bank chose the appraiser, right? I had to go get, what else I had to get? Insurance. I don't have no close people that are African-American insurance companies. That's 3 things right there. I spent money, and it's all gone to a different community, So I'm like, people have to look at, instead of doing the same thing, t-shirt company and whatnot, we can get services. So when I need a roof put on, or we got a company, because we know how to do it, but we want to do the handyman stuff instead of doing it the big business way.
Right. And I feel like now that everybody's growing in business, we have to be intelligent in how we as a community plan our businesses, meaning that they have a chamber of commerce for a reason. They have all these different functions and government programs for a reason. We can't just say, oh, well, you're making money doing that, I'm going to do this too. Like, no, we
Yes.
as the business leaders in this community said that we already have too many of those. So
Right.
you need to figure out a different lane to be in. And guess what? We're going to help that business become successful. It's not good luck, go make it work. Like, no, we're going to send you leads. We're going to send you different contracts. We're going to help you make that successful. So the thing, you don't kill both of your businesses, because what happens is if I have a hair weave shop and you have a hair weave shop and we both go into business because you see me making money selling hair weave, we're both going to be out of business soon. You're just going to push all our profits down to zero.
And that's the important. That's what Facebook do to our community. We get something, we show it out there. Somebody else see you doing it, they copy it. You know. So after all right, getting back to it at the post office.
Yeah.
Once I had a couple of bets there too. I told a couple of guys, because everybody who come in, you kind of get stuck. You're making $50,000 a year, right? Which it may be a lot to some people, it may not be a lot to others. But to me, it provides a house, cars, and a couple of vacations a year. That's what $50,000 do where I live at. So a lot of people say, where is you gonna go and make this type of money? Or one of the older guys that have been there 30 years say, George, I'll call you in 10 years and I'll be on my boat and I ask you how my route going, you know? So all this stuff motivated me to pursue my passion even more, because I seen the lives of people. If you right now working your job, look at people who've been there 20 years. I'm not saying that could be you, but 10% better or less, it could be you, you know? 100%. And I looked at it. I looked at the cars they drove. And the main thing that got me is if you go to work and complain, like what's today? I don't even remember the days no more because I don't live my life based on days no more. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm excited. But today's Sunday. Tomorrow, I'm excited for Monday because the work week get back going. Now, when I was at the post office, I'm already, when you say the word work, my whole energy would drain, because you're going to a place that you're not excited about going there, you know? So that's what motivated me to get out. But while I was at the post office, I would my first house that I purchased, it was at an auction. It was doing the mail route. It allowed me to see every house, every business. So I started thinking about what I want to do. So the first house I seen, it was going up for auction on a Saturday, right? I got off on that Saturday. I took off, right? So I go to the auction. They start to bid out. And guess where this house at? This house is literally right across the street from the post office. So my motivation was, I'm going to go to work every day and look and see I own that, you know? So I went to the auction. It started out, it was probably like 10 people there, right? So I get to the auction. I really want this house. I know my limit what I can buy it for. So I'm like, I'm at the auction. All right, they started to bid off 30,000, 35. I'm bidding, right? 40. It got down to like $45,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. It's me and a guy. He's probably like 85 years old. I mean, he looked like his money's big. He drove his car up to the auction table. I'm like, oh man, I'm going against this guy. He finna, whoop me. So, but he didn't understand 47.5. 47.5 is 47,500. I don't know how he can understand that, but we're bidding 47.5, 48. And the lady, if you ever been to an auction, they come to you. It's only money. Come on, go up an extra 1,000. So I ended up stopping at 52,000. And I mean, you know how they say they going for more people? I felt like it went like this. He stopped and then he like the bid over with. And I'm like, I just spent $52,000, And I literally wanted to run back to him and be like, nah, he can have it, because I was so scared, So I'm like, man, I just bought a house. I don't know if I made the right decision. So I go up there, I fill out the check, do the 10% deposit. And what people should understand is too, buying a house, if you buying it with a loan, you're protected in so many ways, because the bank not gonna loan you the money if the house is not worth it. So you're protected. But in the auction case, you're buying as is. So I put my deposit down, but the seller didn't accept that offer. He counted back because it ain't going high enough. So we went back and forth with that. but I didn't. I ended up not getting the house because the seller, he wouldn't come down to that price. But I'm like, I was stressed out about, spending that money, and the seller still didn't accept the offer. So I'm like, oh, I can do this, So I was bummed out by that house. I'm like, man, what happened? It had open permits. That's what caused it not to go through though. He didn't want to close the open permits, in which people should know, open permits, it can be big if you can't get it closed, if it's something major like a roof or something. Mm-hmm. So I missed out on that house. I was kind of bummed out, right? But another option came up, and the second house, I'm driving the mail truck, right? And I'm in the urban communities. I see an older white guy at the door. Nice house, right? I stopped. I say, "This your house?" He said, "Yeah, I'm having an auction off Saturday." I said, "Okay." So I went around, looked at it, and I was like, "Man, I might be interested in buying it." So he said, "Come to the auction." Well, I can't get off this Saturday, right? So I literally planned my route so that I would be by that house at 11 o'clock on that Saturday.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I planned my route so I'd be right there. So when it started, I'm right there in by the yard, and my wife, we were basically on the phone. I told her my number, right? Because if I'm at the auction, I tend to keep going up. It's just hard for me to stop, right? So I told her my number, which was, I think for this house was 48. And the auction started. We bid. We win this house at like 53,000, something like that, right? I win it. I'm like, okay, good deal. We got it. I get back in the truck. Now I'm still at work. I bought a house. I'm on the mail route, right?
Yeah.
And we closed on it in 30 days, whatever. And I bought it for 50,000. I cut the tree down in the front yard, sprayed some air freshener, and about 40 days later, I sold it for like, I bought it for 53 and sold it for 75.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that was like, I should have did it again, right? But I didn't.
So hold on, wait a second. Did you have 50,000 saved up?
No. All right. And that's the part where people might be like, okay, you raised with a silver spoon. Everybody got your advantages, right? So my advantage was basically my dad did have a property, but it was paid for, right? And I went and got a line of credit against that property. So it don't hurt the person who owned it. It don't hurt them. And as long as you don't stop making payments on your open line of credit, you keep the house. So I went and got an open line of credit. So I had that line of credit, and that's how I was able to purchase the house.
Nice.
And that's for a lot of people. You look at your grandparents, uncles who had a house for a long time, 20, 30 years. And if they trust you well enough, they let an open line of credit is different from a refinance. Refinance means you taking out a whole new mortgage. I didn't take out a mortgage on it. It's only I had payments if I used it. That's the difference between a line of credit and a refinance mortgage.
What kind of bank do you go for that? Did you go to like a big bank? Did you go to a community bank? Did you go to who did that for you?
No. All right. And this is a lot of information. I could sell it. But no, you go to credit unions. I went to Wells Fargo. I went to Bank of America. I went to all the big banks. When you're starting out and you're getting loans, go to your local credit union. You don't have to look on Google or nothing. That's the best place to start.
Yeah, that's good. That's good information right there. All right, so that was your very first deal. How did you know to go so lean on the rehab and then know that it was worth a lot more?
The guy had rehabbed the house to sell at the auction. And I'm in Florida. He's from Oklahoma. He rehabbed the house and auctioned it off. It's been in the family a long time. You never know a person's circumstances until you talk to him. Even the people who own the auction, they said if we knew he would accept that offer, it would have never went to auction. They would have just bought it. So, it was kind of like a hard thing. Like he thought it probably would go for like 70, 60, but it was all profit to him because it was paid for. And he lived in Oklahoma. So he just accepted the offer for $50-some thousand, in which it was already rehab. He painted, everything was done. I literally sprayed air freshener in there, trimmed the front tree down. And I had and then this is a tip for people too. When you first get a property and the next thing I'm doing is put a for rent sign out, right? I put the sign out for rent. I put it on Craigslist. You get all these phone calls. Instead of going to the house one by one, I schedule it Saturday from 10 a.m. to 10:30. I will be at the house. You come in, you do an application, and then you put your name down instead of you going back and forth. So you eliminate the people who the no calls, no show. Because when you get a house for rent nowadays, is like a hot commodity. Mm-hmm. So that's how you eliminate the people who are not serious.
Like the tire kickers. So you have these guys fill out the application before they even toured the house? Or do they tour it and
it was like an open house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like an open house. So they basically came and toured the house. They liked it. They filled out application. And mind you, I was trying to rent that house out, but I couldn't get a loan at the time for some reason. So that's why I ended up selling it. You know? Yeah.
So I think that is dope, and it speaks to the power of real estate, and that a lot of times real estate has built-in exit strategies, a lot of different exit strategies. So you got it, and it's like, dang, I can't rent it out or I can't refi it like I plan to. I guess I got to sell it. I can still make money that way too.
Right. And that's when you go, like me in this market right now, it was at the top. The market is going down right now. So I would go into any property making sure it'll be a great rental property, because I go into it that way, because if I know I can rent the property out, if it's a flip, that's only like sausage on the pepper on the pizza, you know. But if it's a good renter, that's good too.
Yeah.
But don't go into a property where I have to flip it, and if I had to rent it, I'm gonna lose money each month. That is, I would never even go look at that property, you know.
Right. So you made $20,000 approximately. Where'd you go after that?
All right. After that, I probably should have did it again, right? But it took me, what did I do after that? Oh, yeah. After that, some time went by, and I had that money, and did I buy another house? No, I didn't buy another house yet. I had that profit. I put the money back on the line of credit after I sold it, right? So now I put the money back on the line of credit, and I got the money I made. And my next property was literally 2 years later. So for 2 years, that was, it might have been 1 year. I'm not sure. But I did that deal. I didn't do no more deals for the rest of that year, right? I made that money. So just this past April of 2019, that's when I officially quit my job. Because my whole thing was, I'm going to quit my job once I got, say, 6 or 10 rental properties coming in to cover my job, income. But I didn't do that. It was like, you have to follow, like my mindset and my heart was telling me, you don't supposed to be here. And that's for a lot of people. I see people at McDonald's, Subway all the time. And if you ever notice, people just going through the motion. And I question, like, what you do? What you mean what I do? What you do? And they'll say what they do. And what they do is not what they're doing right now. They might, like one kid told me he was into computers, but he was working at Subway. And I was trying to tell him, this is only temporary. Go get on the computer when you get off work, And that's what my thing was. So I'm still working at the post office. I ended up opening up a beauty supply store because I met an owner on the route. He owned the plaza. And I met this guy. He was like he was an older guy, right? But he really helped me out a lot. Me and my wife opened up a beauty supply store in the community, and we did that thing. And I learned too, everything is not for you. Me, I don't like to sit at the store all day and do the cash register. That's just not for me. And at the time, when you start a business, you don't make enough money. In majority of the business, you have to run it yourself at first. I don't care what business. If you're going to open up a business and have employees out the gate, it's going to be tough because you got to get good employees, first of all, and your business got to be profiting right out the gate, which most businesses take time.
Right.
That's true. So, yeah. So we opened a beauty supply store, and that ran for a year. That's what I did with that money, the $20,000. We opened up the beauty supply store. So that ran for a whole year. And when I quit the post office on a Monday, we still had the store. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just grow the business, grow the beauty supply store. But, I mean, just like any business, that wasn't my calling. That was my wife calling, but she's still at work too. She working 9 to 5. So I'm trying to, do her calling. I'm at the store all day, in which I want to be out doing real estate. So I quit my job and I focus. I get my real estate license. And that's how things are destined, because I'm not, like, in school, I was never a good test taker. So to get your real estate license, you have to take 2 tests, a state test and then the regular class test. I passed both of them tests with, you need a 75. I probably got a 76 or 75. I'm not, like, I was the type of student in college, I would do all the homework and extra credit and get a D on the test. So it averaged out at a B- or C+. And that's just, I just never been great at taking tests. But that goes to show you that the school system, even though you do great on tests, that don't solve, you know what I mean, all your financial issues. That's just mean you just a good test taker, you know?
Great at memorizing.
Yeah, great at memorizing. Yeah. So I take my test for real estate license. I passed it. I'm like, okay. So I got my license and my son was born. And that's when I worked a year from the date he was born. So that was the whole thing. I never seen my dad go to work. He always came to my basketball game. And I knew if I stayed at the post office, I would be missing a lot of first moments and a lot of activities once he started school. So I grind hard. I work, and I kept, not when I mean work, is the mind. I kept learning, bigger pockets, reading books. I got a whole bunch of books on the bookshelf now, but I'm just feeding my mind. And then a lot of things, if you're looking at this right now, what I'm saying to you, you have to believe it. Because everything that I heard, my friends were the people on the podcast. Because in your everyday life, you're not going to have people with the same mindset. So my friends were the people on the podcast. So what they were saying, now at my point in my life, it was true. You know what I mean? A lot of people want to be like, oh, that ain't work for me. No, if you write down what you're supposed to do every day and you check it off, you will be successful.
Yeah.
You know?
So what does the portfolio look like right now?
So right now, all right, and that's the thing. When I quit my job, I had 0 properties, right? I quit my job in April. I bought what was the first house I bought? I bought a duplex first, right? And that's this morning, guess what? And that's just side note for the people who think everything I'm saying for real estate, you want to get in just to be rich. That's not true. Last night, my phone rang at 1 o'clock this morning, right? I had 2 missed calls from the tenant, but I was asleep. So this morning, phone rang again at 7 o'clock. I answered. Hey, George, last night, my girlfriend, she broke out all the windows in the apartment. Yes. I'm like, all the windows in the apartment? She literally, something going on, but all the windows in my duplex right now are broke as we're speaking. And after this, I have to go down there to board them up. But
yeah, it's not a cheap fix.
Say that again?
I said that's not a cheap. Well, it could be kind of done. I was saying it's
you don't have to replace the windows. You got to replace the glass. But the whole big thing about this is my first time experiencing this. So what I'm learning is you got to make sure the lease right. And also, I mean, it's a learning experience. Who's responsible for that? I'm responsible for that. Is the tenant responsible? Was the girlfriend responsible for it? So, like, I'm in the midst of learning as I go. So, people, you can read all you want. I never heard nobody go about this on the Bigger Pockets podcast, even though I listen to all 100 episodes. So, even though you do all this book work, you still going to have first-time things that happen. So, I mean, I deal with it as I go, and I keep learning. So, I bought the duplex back in September, right? So, that's that duplex in which I lost at an auction because I didn't bid high enough, and that goes back to believing, like, I believe in God. So that I didn't win the auction, but the house ended up going for sale, the duplex, and I ended up still purchasing it. So I purchased that duplex for $80,000, and that's the thing too about the numbers. You know numbers, right? So I'm looking for cash flow. I don't work no more. So the main thing is cash flow. So when you're looking for deals, if you're buying a house, the whole goal is you want a mortgage with taxes and insurance included, at least $300 less than what you can rent out for. You know, so I basically bought that house, which is a great deal, duplex, and purchased that. And then after I bought that one, I partnered up with another guy, and we bought an Airbnb. And many people who are in rental property, the older generation, are not sure about the Airbnb, but Airbnb brings the most cash flow in this day and time. So I got an Airbnb, the duplex, and I closed on another house Friday, which is another single family house. And then we got another house coming to North Carolina. So right now it's 4 properties that's kind of out there right now.
So the dopest part about what I hear when you say that is it's tough to buy homes if you're working a 9-to-5. There's a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Retire Young, Retire Rich. And the quote that he says in that book is, the problem with the day job is it gets in the way of getting rich. And so, like, I'm in the position now where it's like, bro, like, we have all this stuff going on, my job is getting in the way. My job prevents me from being able to do everything I can do for this business. Another thing you said that was really dope is when you start a business in the beginning, it actually becomes, it's you who's doing a lot of the work, and you have to accept that. So it's me. I'm doing the contracts. I'm doing the accounting work. I'm doing the analysis. I'm doing the property management. I'm doing all this stuff. But that's just in the beginning. Then as it grows, as it scales, you get there. But I just think it's dope that you quit your job and then you got to the units. A lot of people, they want to get the units before they quit their job, not realizing that that free time is going to allow them to get the units. Can you agree with that?
Yes, but everybody's situation is unique. My situation was my wife still worked, so technically I still can get a loan. So you got to look at everybody's situation different. You got kids and your job. I mean, if you quit your job and you don't make no money for the next 2 months, don't quit your job. I mean, if you're gonna be homeless, and that's one of the things I want to tell too. A lot of people, if you're listening, get your pen and pad out, write this down. What really got me started in this was the house hacking. So my first house, even before we even talked, that my first house, initial house, I bought that house with the New American Dream. I started out at the post office. I bought a regular 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I bought 2 cars. We had 2 car payments and a dog, right? I was living the American dream. I did that probably, 3 or 4 months. And I was like, this can't be life. This can't be life. I got 2 car payments, a house note, and I'm going to work that I don't like every day. So that's when I started reverse engineering, going backwards. I got rid of the car payments, sold a house, made a lot of money on a house, in which people don't know. If you sell a house after you live there for 2 years, that's tax-free income. Long as you, stay there for 2 years. It has to be a primary residence. And if you're married, it's up to $550,000 tax-free. So you can literally make $400,000 and not pay a dime in taxes on it. So that was my first thing, because I never got a large sum of money. I'm always working with $4,000, just like the average Joe, But when I sold the house, I got a little lump sum of money. So I ended up buying, and this is what, for the young people, you start out, you buy either a duplex or a house with a guest house. So in my situation, I'm looking for a duplex. All the duplexes, the numbers don't make sense. It's overpriced. So I go look at this house, popped up. It's a large house. It got a guest. It said mother-in-law suite. And the lady who lived in it before me, she used it as a normal house, like an extra living room. Soon as I seen it, ding, 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 I can rent this out. Mm-hmm. So what the asking price they wanted was like a no-brainer, because I knew that I could rent this out. So basically, you buy a house.
We talk the numbers on this one.
All right, we'll talk the numbers. Okay. So the house, the asking price was $180, right? And if you go to the bank, you say, I got a house priced at $180, and you using an FHA loan, which you got to put 3.5% down, right? So based on that, on them numbers, the bank will give you a number saying, all right, your monthly payment would be close to this. It's going to be between $1,200 and $1,400. It's not going to be exact because you got to get taxes and whatnot. But that was what they told me. So I said, okay, payment between $1,200 and $1,400, the house $180. So you got to put 3% down. 3% of $180, like $7,000 plus closing costs. Mm-hmm. So I put the offer in, I think at $170, and she came back at $175, and I think we settled right there, right? But that wasn't the catch. We settled at $175, but you have to have an inspection. Once you buy a house, you get the inspection done. That is the buyer leverage. You want to go get an inspector who filled the paper up. You want an inspection guy who write every single thing down. I know you don't want that kind of inspector because you're selling, right? But we want an inspector that's going to put every single thing in the report. So basically, this guy came back and he had basically one of the septic tanks was illegal. So that was like a big thing, right, that needed to get fixed, which cost like $7,000. So that was my leverage. That's the buyer leverage once you come up with an issue at the property. It don't mean it's a deal breaker, in which I tell people all the time, the right number can always make the deal happen. So I'm never looking at a deal and saying, oh, that's a bad deal. I'm just saying, well, how much would I pay now? So we got the seller to pay the closing costs. So once I closed in that house, we ended up the payment, like say $1,300, and the part I'm renting out, Airbnb is $1,200 average a month. Yeah.
Wow.
So think about it now. The American dream is to buy a house. Yeah, the American dream is you go buy a house and live in it. And they call it an asset. That's not an asset.
That's
because
fire. Nobody's doing everybody talks about house hacking and they want to house hack it with a long-term tenant as opposed to house hacking Airbnb.
No. It's up to you now. If you Airbnb is like double the rent on average because it's a nightly rate. So I probably could rent it out for like $800 a month, in which would be okay because somebody's paying more than mortgage. But I almost covered the mortgage with Airbnb, and once you learn how to use Airbnb and become a superhost, we're a superhost now. So it's like it's booked up for months, and that's the key to people want to do budget. We don't do budget reports. We just eliminate expenses because it's hard for me to budget. Like it's hard for me to stick to a budget, and that's on a personal scale, So I basically got rid of the car payments, got rid of them cars, and got rid of the housing costs. So nice. Basically what's next. Yeah.
I love it, man. That is fire. Man. So I want to know how you become a superhost with Airbnb.
Superhost with Airbnb, which it popped up on us. We've probably been a superhost now about 3 months, and basically follow the direction on Airbnb. When they come up to leave a review, write a review. When they come up saying when people write you a message, you don't wait 2 days. It come up as a text message. So soon as the message come up, you got 24 hours to reply. So your reply rate is 100%, and you can't have no cancellations. So that's one of the things that set us back. We had a vacation coming up, and we forgot to block that time off. So if you do a cancellation, it messes your superhost up. You have to have a year straight with no cancellations. So if you can't, provide that, you need to cancel it off, because as soon as you the host, have to cancel, you have to wait a whole nother year for that anniversary before you can become a superhost. And then after that is basically like on quarterly terms.
And then also you said you don't do budgets, you eliminate expenses. Can you kind of expand on that for me, please?
Yeah. So the budget thing is what's the guy named? Dave Ramsey. He wants you to put money in envelopes and say, don't spend over this on fast food. Don't spend over this in gas. Well, what if I got to go out of town? So I don't do that at all. I want a lot of leftovers. So like I said, the main thing that kills people's pocket is housing and cars, and food is third. So by me doing buying a house with a guest house, that eliminate housing. By you we drive older cars, but they still work, which eliminates the car payments, So my biggest expense is probably food.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So did you paid off the cars, or you just bought cars you could pay in cash?
No, we paid them off. So basically, yeah, and that's one of the things like the book called The One Thing. We focus, if that's your goal, you write it down. My goal is to do this, pay off this car. But the initial thing was we didn't have even close to new cars. Paying off a car was like $3,000 or $4,000 because we already bought older cars, So it wasn't like $15,000, $20,000 car. It was I would stay under $7,000 at least. But $7,000 can get you a reliable car.
Exactly. If you get a reliable car, the goal is to get to your location, right? Not so much shining as you get to your location if you want freedom. And then as you grow that freedom, that asset column, then you can maybe drive what you want to drive. That is dope, man. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. Everybody talks about house hacking, but they don't talk about being intentional about house hacking through Airbnb, which allowed you to eliminate the entire mortgage. That is the gem that I took from this show. Also, like a lot of inspirational stuff. Do we miss anything? Is there something that we should be talking about that I didn't get a chance to touch on?
Airbnb. No, just that's one of the keys. Before you can invest in real estate, aggressive, you have to work on yourself. So if you can eliminate a lot of things, and mainly the most expensive stuff in your life that you can cut down on costs, that's one of the keys to success. Because if I still had a house and car payments, I will probably be in a mail route right now. Yeah. And that's when people started making more money. I can almost tell when a new person get hired at the post office, I say in 3 months, he'll have a new car out there. Yeah. And next thing you see a new car pulling in the parking lot, and guess what the postmaster say? We got him. Because guess what? when I want you to do something, you a chance you can lose that car if you don't do it. You know,
Right?
so
It's so
they
crazy.
got you by the neck.
I was thinking about that too. I was like, man, like paying off your car isn't just like saving extra money. It's also freedom. Like I don't have to get up and do this for a paycheck anymore. If I want to, I can. But you guys have bought yourself freedom by eliminating your expenses through your passive income. So
Exactly.
to close out the show, I'm gonna call this segment the Final Four. The first question of the Final Four is: who is somebody that you look up to and why?
Who is somebody I look up to? Jeez, man, there's a lot of people I listen to. Probably between TD Jakes, because even though I didn't talk about it a lot, you know what I mean? A lot of people say, how'd you quit your job? I say it was God. I literally Googled would God tell me to quit my job. You know, I Googled it. And, I mean, people might think it's crazy, but in that sense, he told me, you know what I mean, you'll be okay. You will eat, you will have a house, you will have a car. So, I mean, I like TD Jakes, and I listen to a lot of DJ Envy, too, with the family.
Man, I'm so intrigued by this whole quitting your job thing. Like, do you think that you make more money now that you have more of your time, or do you think that it's about the same? Do you think that you've taken a pay cut? How have your finance kind of changed since you quit your job?
All right. That's a good question. That's a very good question. All right. I make a lot less money, right? I was making probably like $1,500-$1,600 every 2 weeks. So that's like $3,200 a month. I don't have that now, right? So I make less money, but at the same time, I took that time and it's kind of starting to snowball. At first, it was a lot less, but now that I'm starting to catch like traction with these rental properties, it's like money's starting to come back in. And what you want to really worry about is, if you look at it small, don't look at how much money you make over the year. Look at the monthly. So if you can just control the month, like I know in the first of the month, this rent coming in, you know, and I know my expenses over here. So even though I can buy, like right now, if you had a good deal on me, I could go all the way down to $1,000 left in my whole last name, because I know as long as I got this rent coming in, it's going to outweigh the bills, you know? And literally us, when you coming from nothing, we like to see an account with $10,000 in it or whatever your number is. So that was my thing, getting over seeing just a number. That number, if you got $10,000 in your account just sitting, it's not working for you. Each one of my dollars is working. So yeah, I'm gonna take that $9,000 and spend it on a rental property. I'm not gonna invest in your business, nobody else's business, because I like real estate. Do what's for you. Invest in yourself. So I trust my $9,000 going into real estate, and that's one of the things. Yeah, you're gonna make less, but at the same time, I'm a lot happier too. I go to, like yesterday, I was with my family all day, went to birthday parties. And when I was working at the post office, my brother worked there now. He's doing the same thing. He's like a younger version of me. So he's working there. He's going to take the money, buy rental properties, and eventually he's going to get a peace sign, you know?
Yeah, I love it. What is your favorite business or real estate book?
My favorite real estate book would be, I don't want to say Rich Dad Poor Dad. The Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first one I kind of like. I listened to audiobook too. And that's what people need to start thinking about. When people say the first book you read, I don't really read as much as I listen to audiobooks, because that's how I learn. And they don't tell you that in school either. You should be taking in information the way you learn. You may learn by reading. I learned by listening. And I discovered that at the age of 25. You know, that's 25 years that I've been reading and failing tests because I'm learning based off reading and not comprehending. But I listened to the Rich Dad Poor Dad and Scott Trench, Set for Life. That would be a good book.
What's the book in your hand right there?
Oh yeah, this business book everybody should get. My wife just bought me this book. This guy was on TDJ's show, Doing Business by the Good Book. And it's basically 52 lessons on success straight from the Bible.
I love it.
So it's basically a lot of things you might have a vision. Nobody's seen me doing this, you know? Nobody. The co-workers, they call me crazy. And a lot of times when people say stuff is crazy, you're going to make a lot of money, you know?
Bars.
So it look weird. You see something weird on the road, I'm pretty sure it's 8plex going on top of 8plex, you know? Mm-hmm. But this book, one of the things I want to tell you, it was, here you go. I'm going to read it to you. Matthew verse Matthew chapter 25. You got to read it. God gave 3 guys talents. He gave the first guy. Have you heard this?
Of course.
Oh,
But the listeners
Okay.
might not have ever heard it, so tell them.
All right, listen. God gave the first guy 5 talents, right? All right. He gave the second guy 2 talents. He gave the third guy 1 talent. So God let a few months go by. He come back, and he talked to guy number 5 he gave 5 talents. He said, "What do you have for me?" The guy gave him 10 talents. He said, "Oh, you was a good person. Let me give you more responsibility in the world." He went to the guy number 2. He gave 2 talents. He gave him back 4 talents. So God said, "Oh, you doubled your talents. Let me give you responsibility too." So he went to the third guy, and God gave him 1 talent. And he said, "What you got for me?" He said, "Well, God, I only got 1 talent because I knew if I would have lost this 1 talent, you would have been mad at me. So I buried it in the ground until you came back, and I gave it to you." And God literally called him an evil, lazy, so on, whatever, you know. And that goes to show you that if God give you some, like I paid my workers the other day, right? $40. You know, and we did hard work, right? We laid grass. You might have seen on Instagram. Do you realize he took $10 to play scratch off to win 0? So, you know, I gave you money. You invested it for 0. You know, you basically, you know what I mean? It was like, I couldn't understand it. Like, we sweated. You know, we worked hard. And you didn't multiply it. You just gave it away. So that's what God talking about. People who got a lot of responsibilities in life, it's because they're doing the right thing. You either helping somebody, like I help people as much as I can, you know, and you try to do what would God do. And that's basically my life now, because I mean, I don't know where my next check coming from, so it's a lot of faith.
I love it. What sets apart successful investors from those who give up, fail, and never get started?
I would say surrounding yourself by people that make you comfortable. And what I mean by that is when you say, a lot of people, when I used to be like, I want to buy this or do that, and they say, "Man, the tenant's gonna mess it up. You got to pay for all that," just like this happened. And it's people at that level for a reason, because you need to put yourself in uncomfortable positions. So I do a lot of things now, like even this. It's my first time doing this, right? And it's not something I'm used to, but it's taking me to that next level. I went to a real estate conference. I didn't realize I was doing so well. You know what I mean? I'm talking to people. I'm like, I don't work. I got properties. I'm like, dang. But my head was down. So the main thing that sets you apart is don't listen to people right here. If you want to do something, go talk to people. You got Instagram. You know, you can reach all kind of people or people in your community. So set yourself around people that you want to be like, because a mentor, and when that become norm, hey, it's normal for my friend to have $1 million. You know what I mean? And it's become the norm. So I say set yourself around people you want to be like.
Dope, man. Last question is, where can people find out more about you? Where can they follow you? Where can they support what you have going on?
All right. You can find me on Instagram at Gipson Money Talk. That's where I show a lot of the rehabs and property we're doing. Also, that's pretty much it right now. I'm getting on my website. I'm getting a website made, but really on Instagram right now, you can find me. And that's one of my things too. Like, some people rather be famous. I don't really care about you knowing me, and you know what I mean? I'm really about taking care of my family. And once you become at a certain level, it's not just your household, it's the community. You know what I mean? Kids. So that's my thing.
Dope, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Definitely a super inspiring show. I take a lot from this show. I know the listeners are going to take a lot from this show. So for all the listeners, make sure you check out his information in the show notes.
Oh, yeah.
I
do got the podcast, the New American Dream podcast, and he was a
definitely
guest on my podcast.
I was a guest on that podcast. You should be able to find that on his page, and I'll have to set that up on my at a link on my page for that interview too. I need to create like a page of just all the interviews I've done, but that was a fun episode. It was where I got a chance to kind of connect with you, and hopefully this friendship kind of blossoms as well. You guys support our sponsors. Don't forget the sponsors, Terry Igioma. I'm an investor. The Trade and Travel program, she's doing crazy things, helping like a lot of people. I think she had like 700 students last year. So she's expecting to do a lot of really good things in 2020. I want you guys to be a part of it. Also check out Ericka Classy Climb and her YouTube channel. She's a boss. I think she owns like 11 semi-trucks now, and she's probably even going to do even more this year. Check out Andre C. Hatchett, mobile notary extraordinaire. He's doing some great stuff. Hood Estates has the Hood Estates Elite program they're starting now. I think it starts in February, in the middle of the February, so make sure you guys get involved with that. Also, make sure you check out their checking course. It's only $250 right now. Don't forget the gumroad.com/Todd Capital site. We have all of our programs there, the long-distance real estate investing program. We have the LLC program. We have the stock option program. We have a bunch of stuff there to help you guys out. And all of our programs come with the free consultation, so you get a chance to talk to us for at least 15 minutes. We can kind of hash out some of the problems you might have in implementing those courses, because it's not just the knowledge, it's the implementation. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Top Millionaire. Rashonda Scott will be here tonight. We have 2 more episodes to record, so I know you guys probably missed her, but she'll be here tonight for 2 more fire episodes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Charles Oglesby, episode 137, signing off. That was dope, man. That was really, really good.
Oh, yeah.